Welcome back. It's still the breakfast of Plus TV Africa. We are ready to go as far as looking at the headlines on the front pages of the national daily is concerned. Our guest Jide Johnson is standing by, ever so ready as usual. And Mercy Ebokpo is here with me. Mercy, good morning to you. Which paper are we doing? Are we looking at first? So many stories today, you know what I'm saying?
Well, very interesting headlines right here on the show. It's a beautiful Friday, plus it's the very first day in July. I start off with the Nation newspaper. Jide Johnson is on standby. He joins the conversation in no time. Jide Johnson, good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Mercy and Kofi. Happy New Month to you and to our viewers all over the world.
All right, let's start off with the Nation newspaper. Soldiers, 10 policemen, others killed in gun attacks. Very sad. I was thinking that we'd definitely have a different kind of morning right here with the headlines, but of course, very saddening headlines. Niger mining site, Enugu Rivers checkpoint attack for Chinese orders abducted. Governor's order manhunt for assailant and army confirms killings. These are riders underneath a V-bold caption. Atiku, we are addressing PDP members' concern. It's also another caption, very boldly written on the Nation. United Kingdom court denied Ekuru Madu's wife bail. Ogendono is 15, more like they're insisting. And you have OPEC saying OPEC's production quota of 1.826 million barrels per day for Nigeria. The issue has always been that we have never really met, the quota by OPEC. And Labour plans one-day protest and ASU strike. That's it this morning on the Nation newspaper.
All right, quite interesting stories. Let's go straight to the Punch. The Punch leads with this headline. Atiku battles to avert PDP's collapse. Wike's loyalists threaten defection. Of course, we'll look at that later, much later on the program. But the writers to that story, if Wike dumps PDP, Rivers people will follow him. Lawmakers, LG chair, others. Meet Wike and explain the reason for picking Okowa. McAfee tells Atiku, I respect all PDP governors, lawmakers. We're taking action, says ex-VP. It's talking about Atiku Bokar. It's a rumble in the jungle right there. Shell suspends multi-billion-dollar asset sale in Nigeria. Talking about the onshore assets. INEC bows to pressure, extends voter registration indefinitely. Marketers deny FG's 74 billion naira payment, warn of massive fuel queues. Here we go again. NLC plans one-day protest over ASU strike. Others. It'll be interesting to see what Jide Johnson thinks about this. If anything that NLC does now will be taken as opposition action, because now supporting officially the Labour Party. All right, let's go on. Ekuru Madu's kinsmen lobby FG, AU, ECOWAS over UK investigation. $1 billion natural gas sold to Portugal this year, says NNPC. Kaduna Catholic priests protest. A slain colleague is buried. Kaduna Catholic priest protest as slain colleague is buried. COVID-19, Nigeria misses WHO vaccination target. Experts task NPHCDA. You want to know what that stands for? Please read the story. The details on page 30. 4,770 terrorists surrendered in 2 weeks, says DHQ. Gunmen killed 2 Enugu policemen. Rivers CP hunts cops killers. Northwest APC in crucial meeting over VP slot. Are they still expecting to change the earlier choice? Bandits kill soldiers, policemen, others. Kidnap 4 expatriates. And Nigeria government shields herdsmen, blames ISWAP for our attack, is according to report cited on page 30 of the Punch.
Well, let's move away from the Punch. We also have in front of us the Leadership newspaper, and looking at the banner caption, vested interest in the APC delaying emergence of Tinubu's running mate. Wow. And underneath you have regions in final push for vice president slot, and Northwest governors, ministers, leaders meet in Kaduna to engage presidential candidate. Tinubu support group insist on Lalong, and youth group settle for Yakubu Palm. Well, it's a lot, and that's what politics is about, interest. Religious beliefs, myth, orders hindering acceptance of family planning. Okay. You also find penetration in Nigeria only 17%. I mean, that's a lot. If you say 17% where you have religion being great and other myths, then it feels like progress. 13 security operatives, 6 local killed, 4 Chinese abducted in Niger. PDP Atiku moved to pacify Wike, Fayoshe, all the aggrieved members. All might not be well with the PDP. And Labour plans one-day protest over state of the nation. And just before then, you have alleged organ harvesting. The United Kingdom court adjourns Ikwemadu's trial to July the 7th, which just have 6 days to go. And that's it on the leadership newspaper this morning.
The Daily Independent is choosing to go with its lead story looking at the impending ASU strike, NLC national protest. They're saying NLC mobilizes for national protest over ASU FG impasse. Northwest APC governors, others to engage Tinubu over VP ticket. Ekwemadu, wife appear in court over UK organ harvesting plot. Only consensus measures can restore democracy in West Africa. Buhari, I guess he may have said that while on his latest foreign trip this time to Portugal. Reps okay, 70-year retirement age for persons living with disabilities. CBN rate hike may not rein in inflation. This according to Fitch. CBN rate hike may not rein in inflation. Soldiers, policemen, workers killed as bandits attack Niger mining site. We told Chinese nationals have been abducted. Gunmen attack checkpoint in Enugu, killed 2 policemen. I do hope that this is not connected with illegal mining activities. You can read some more, in that paper for details. PDP crisis. Atiku says members' feelings being addressed, and we'll see how that goes. But let's at this point bring in our guest, Jide Johnson, as he gives us his analysis. Jide Johnson, thanks once again for your time. We'll stay with the Daily Independent. And the question I earlier asked, now that the NLC and the TEC have pitched their tent with Labour Party, will such actions as they want to embark on, this one, a protest over ASU and FG impasse, should it be taken as a political action by an opposition group?
Every action has both political, economic, and social implications. However, Peter Obi has done more for Nigerian Labour Congress and the Nigerian Labour in its totality in the last 1 month that the Nigerian Labour Congress has done for the Nigerian workers in the last 7-8 years. In actual sense, nobody could reckon whether there is still in existence the Nigerian Labour Congress. However, they are fighting for relevance and survival now, because I don't see the reason why it is not that they could not be mobilizing support for ASU strike. We recall in this when Labour was still vibrant, when it was not moribund as it is now, the emergence of Pascal Bafayao as the president and Adam Oshomole as his vice president in the late 80s marked the beginning of the moribundness of, if I'm allowed to use that word, of the Nigerian Labour Congress, because that was when there was political infiltration by the federal government into the Nigerian Labour Congress. So they are just playing to the gallery. As far as I'm concerned, it's just the post-NT party they are looking for relevance. This is something which they should have done, not even before now. Because anytime any aggrieved member association of the Nigerian, because Nigerian Labour Congress is the umbrella for all labor association in Nigeria. So what affects one affects all. Since are they just waking up to come up with their own plan to go on 1 month nationwide strike? I'm just thinking that they're just looking for relevance and they want to tap into the political capital that Peter Obi has given the Nigerian Labour Party. So that's as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, like you pointed out, it's just political. It has nothing to do with the use of ASU.
Well, let's move away from that. Looking at the leadership newspaper this morning, it talks about vested interests as responsible for the delay of Tinubu's running mate. And one would think that the APC, the all-ruling party, has it all together. At this point, it wouldn't have been an issue. But, I mean, what interest are we talking about here?
Yeah, there are different elements within a political party. There are different caucuses, and then we pointed out that it's only the party that is able to manage its pre and post convention crisis that will win the election, because you must be able to assuage the feelings of those that lost out in the primaries of the party, for them to have some sort of social inclusion. And then you must also look at the electoral value. What will the running mate bring to the ticket? So all of this you take into consideration. That was why the APC used a placeholder. From the onset, they said they use a placeholder in order to widen the consultation and to involve as many stakeholders as possible in picking their running mate, so as to assuage the feelings of all elements that constitute their party, all the interests, sub-interests within their party, and that's why they have found themselves where they have found. Not out of place for you to see this in politics. So I am sure by the end of this weekend, when these stakeholders meet and they come up with, I hope it will be acceptable to all interest groups within the party. You could see that there are two candidates that have been advanced. While the youths are clamoring for Yakubu Palm, some are already clamoring for Lalong, the governor of Plateau State. But how you manage it is very, very important. If you dovetail these stories, this particular story, to similar situation in PDP, you will see that there are stories major across the newspapers will reveal that article battles to avert PDP collapse. What's it all about? It's about the post-convention crisis, the convention and the post-convention crisis. You will recall that Wike came second in this particular election. Now, and also recall that in 2019, Wike supported Tambua against Atiku, invested his political capital in Tambua, and they lost out in 2019. They lost out in 2023. And Wike has the support base of Wike. In what way have you included that support base? In what level have you consulted in picking your running mate? Now, you will recall that the National Working Committee of the party set up a team to look for the vice president. I think there were about 19 of them, or thereabout, or 21, 17, overwhelming majority picked Wike ahead of Okowa and Udom of Akwa Ibom State. What behoves on the presidential candidate of PDP is going to include the other part, the other wing. That's how you balance the political party. You include the other wing of your party, to be part and parcel. So you have a united front. However, everybody, if you follow the trend in PDP, pre-PDP primaries, everyone knew that ahead of time that Okowa was supporting Atiku. In fact, there has been an arrangement even before the convention for Okowa to become the vice president of running of Atiku, and that delayed out. So if that's what you wanted to do, what Atiku should have done on the night of the convention, where was declared winner, is for him to have announced Okowa as my choice, and everybody will go back home. And let me borrow the word of the APC presidential candidate that they used for the Senate president. Everybody will go back home and lick their wounds, and then they will heal. Now, you beat a man once, and then you beat him the second time, and you're rubbing it on his nose. It doesn't make any sense. And you heard what the governor of Benue State said in the course of this week. You heard what the former governor of Ekiti said with respect to that. You heard the discordant tune that is coming from the governor of Edo State. So it is important for PDP, particularly the presidential candidate of PDP, to know how to manage this crisis. If these crises are not properly managed, it will sign the death knell for the PDP in the presidential election, because there's no money that they can perform. The House divided against itself cannot stand. And like you pointed out, it is the party that manages the post-convention crisis that goes united into the main election that wins the election.
All right, Jide Johnson, let's go over to the Punch newspaper. This one is one that really it's of concern to a lot of people because it involves life. And if you look at the bottom of that front page, the headline: Nigeria government shields herdsmen, blames ISWAP for our attack report, is one that will always raise concern. A few details says the Punch says that Nigerian officials blamed the terror attack on St. Francis Catholic Church in our Ondo State on ISWAP, that's Islamic State West Africa province, while avoiding references to networks of politically powerful herdsmen, according to a Knoxville News Sentinel report, is what the Punch is saying. And they're saying, according to a senior fellow of the Religious Freedom Institute in Washington, D.C., Stephen Rash, Nigerian Christians no longer trust their own government or leaders of the United States and the EU. So you think such a report has gotten it spot on to lay this narrative that government is shielding herdsmen whilst going for ISWAP? Or you think that probably it's too early to tell until we know who is really and truly behind this?
This is not the time for labeling or blaming one group or the other. It's just for government to accept its responsibility. Its failure to protect the life and properties of Nigerian citizens. It's an impitiable offense. I've said it over and over time again. Because when government comes into play, when they come into power, they swear an oath, and part of the oath is to protect the lives and property of the citizens. So when government fails in fulfilling its oath, that's an impitiable offense. Because whether it's ISWAP or X-Men or gunmen, the average citizen cares less about that. What the average citizen cares about is for the provision of security that secures life and property, that maintains the territorial integrity of the nation. How would you explain that a government is writing a report and is shielding one group, blaming the other for breakdown of law and order in the society? It's just the religion of duty as far as I'm concerned. You ask yourself this question: how did this group that were dispersed from Syria and Iraq under Donald Trump moved into the the Sahel, into West Africa? That's the question you ask. And then how did they move down south? We thought they were we were dealing with Boko Haram, and then we couldn't deal with that. It grew out of program, grew ISWAP. We have ISWAP in Niger, we have in Zamfara. It was labeled banditry, different kind of thing. What are doing for criminal elements that are causing havoc in the society, killing people, children, raping women, and then we give it different types of names. That don't, the simple terms, they are terrorists. Where you have a situation whereby government rewards criminality. You say some people are repentant, and we bring them back into society. When you have a systemic reward of criminality, this is what you have at hand.
All right, Jide Johnson, let's quickly look at this. The question here is, don't you think it's time that Nigerians, or we as a country, accept the issue of family planning and trying to control the kind of population that we have, size of family? Now, on the leadership newspaper, Religious belief and myth orders hindering acceptance of family planning, we're looking at 17%, and that's the report. Now, if you want to also juxtapose that with a report from the World Bank, Nigerian poverty rate, and all of the reporters out, 4 in 10 persons live below the poverty line. Is it not time that, we look beyond religious myth and whatever it is and accept family planning and other measures to control population?
Population is a blessing if you know how to harness your human resource and your natural resource. The population of China, the population of India, the population of United States of America, and if you look at the population density of Japan to the landmass of Japan, you begin to wonder when people begin to talk about population control. Right? And it's not what we have is over concentration of people in the urban area. Just take a trip outside of Lagos. On your way from, once you leave Redeem Camp, tell me how many communities you see along the road before you get to Ibadan. Or you travel to the east. What we are, if we harness the landmass we have, and we devote resources to agriculture, and we reduce rural urban migration, and we go back to the farm, government makes strategic investment into agricultural produce, you will see the foreign exchange earning that Nigeria will derive from agriculture. You will see. Then you understand that population is an advantage. If the human resource and the natural resource
but Jide Johnson, I like the fact that I like the fact, Jide Johnson.
I want to bring that story to a particular story that NFPC makes $1 billion for selling what? Natural gas to Portugal. Because some of us were asking the question, why was the president visiting Portugal? While they visited Spain, he could have combined the two. That's Iberian Peninsula. He could have visited the two nations. But you see the story because something was properly harnessed. Do we have opportunities of using where we have comparative advantage in terms of natural resources, in terms of human capacity development to do that? When nations like Canada are asking for more people to come, they develop means for people to migrate to their country in order to boost the population of their country. People are talking about bad control and the rest of it. It's because we don't have good leaders. It's bad leadership.
I mean, Jide Johnson.
You don't need to tell people how to plan their family. Economic realities will tell people whether to plan or not to plan. But the most important thing is that we harness our resources, I can tell you, both human and natural.
No, but you have mentioned, Jide Johnson, it's a good thing that you have also mentioned and identified the fact that, population can be a plus, it can be a blessing, especially where you have, countries and people harnessing and taking advantage of the population. And it therefore means it can also be a curse. And in this particular case, because we're not doing the needful, is it not important that we put some measures and we begin to look beyond religious belief and all of the myth and try to see, because it feels like it might just become a disaster to us. I mean, a population that is not productive and not active, and where you have people asking for 2,000 naira every other time because people are hungry. There's a lot going on. Is it not time that we look beyond all of this sentiment and put a stop to it?
There's a national population as far back as 1988 that a family should not be more than a family of 4 children. 4 children linked to the family. But I can tell you for a fact, if you look at an average family in Nigeria in my generation, how many family has more than 4 children? In actual sense, you can take a survey of the present generation and you ask them how many of them want to give out to more than 2 children. Some have even limited it to 1 that they want to. I became a father in 2002. I never wanted to have more than 2 children. That's as far back as then. And I I knew many friends that have just 2 children. So when people talk about this issue, there is a political undertone. There is also an economic undertone. And there is also the influence of the big pharmaceutical company in order to sell their own contraceptives to Africa. So there are so many dimensions to all of these things which you talk about. Because if you look at the reality we have on ground, economic policies in Nigeria as a result of government failure has made an average Nigerian to rationalize that it is better for me to have a manageable family. And that's the reality. So for when people are very religious, there is a lot of undertone. And then a lot of those undertones characterize the issue of vaccine mandate across the globe. So there are different types of interests that are involved. When they begin to advance some of these issues, there are some undertone with respect.
So, but how do you also explain? I mean, just as Kofi comes in with the next question, and we then begin to coast it down on the paper this morning. But how do you explain the fact? I mean, let's be realistic. Sometimes I think that everything shouldn't be politicized, and we need to look at a current reality. So, in a situation where you have a man, this is a reality. I mean, this is not hearsay. A 39-year-old man having 9 children, he can cater for. Now that's so much. That's a lot. I mean, you look at the source of livelihood. How do you manage 9 children? That's so much at 39. So, like I would say, is it not time that we look at our current reality and begin to speak the truth to ourselves as Nigerians and as a people? You have talked about harnessing and ensuring that you have what it takes, to push. Is it not important that we look at this so we don't, begin to chunk out children that we can't cater for, and then they constitute a nuisance and security threat to the nation?
How do you justify the numbers of convoys, numbers of cars in governors and presidents? How do you justify the allowance?
Jide Johnson, I mean, you have answered it already.
How do you justify? Is that what?
You actually answered it from the beginning.
You see, it is because, one, we don't have a social welfare system. The resources we have in Nigeria, if you divide the Nigerian budget over the total population of Nigeria, or we look at the population density of Nigeria, we are nowhere near what this issue is raising. As far as I'm concerned, we have not even properly harnessed the population that we have, combined with the resources that God has given to us because of poor leadership. I can tell you, those that are advocating that the people should embrace population as a result of bad control, as a result of having bad control, as a result of managing economy. They are not even managing our resources very well.
All right, Jide Johnson, thank you very much. We are almost out of time. Let's just take one more headline. And this one comes from the Punch newspaper. I think some good news. I don't know what you would say that. 4,770 terrorists surrendered in 2 weeks. This according to the defense headquarters. They released information yesterday disclosing that 4,770 Boko Haram terrorists had surrendered to the troops between June 1 and June 15, 2022. Now, those who surrendered, according to the military high command, include 2,490 children. I just want to make that pointed out. 2,490 children, 1,415 women, and 814 men. Over to you.
Well, we'll see what government does with that. Probably those ones who are repentant Boko Haram, they will be integrated back into society. And that has been the policies of the government. As far as I'm concerned, I want to close with the story with people with disabilities that the House of Rep passed a legislation to make their retirement 70 years. I think that's the principle of social inclusion, and that's a welcome development. The National Assembly should be commended for that, ensuring that people with disabilities are given inclusion within the society and recognition they deserve. As far as the issue of the defense headquarters, I am less interested. We've been seeing that for many, many years, and we see these people going back and then to their various terrorist group to cause havoc again. They've been cornered into a particular place, getting captured. They now say they surrender. It's okay.
All right. All right, Jide, we have to go. Thank you very much for your time. And of course, we look forward to having you next week on the segment of the press.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Same to you. And we'll be back with more right here on the program. Of course, we'll look at what happened today in history. We'll return to dive straight into first conversation. Please stay with us.